Bell rolls is the reporter thrown into the secretive world of the Forex Super Model, where nothing is as it seems. Beware the techno monk, and steer clear of Professor Code and his two assistants. Give the senior trader a wide berth, and don't expect any sense from the risk manager.
Good morning, I'm Professor Code and this is the Forex Super Model daily briefing for Friday the 23rd of the 7th 2021. Time is just coming up to 0455, 5 to 5 in the morning. Asian session coming to a close, European session firing up, our lunchtime North American session. Right, yesterday, Thursday the 22nd then, we had a positive opposed driver in the pound at plus 156. Front and backdoor flows mainly coming out the euro at minus 127, out the dollar at minus 44, and the yen was the positive rock at plus 15. Activity was plus or minus 171. Intra-week then, this is the most relevant because it's from Monday the 19th open to about 15 minutes ago. We've got a negative opposed driver in the euro at minus 80. Front and backdoor flows mainly going into the dollar at plus 70, into the pound at plus 18, and the yen is the negative rock at minus 8. Activity plus or minus 88. Right, so yesterday we had pound strength driving, euro and dollar weakness, bit of yen strength, and over the week we've had euro weakness driving, dollar and pound strength, and a bit of yen weakness. Right, so intraday then, this is what's happened in the Asian session to about 15 minutes ago. We've got a negative unopposed driver in the yen at minus 32. No backdoor flows. The opposing positive flows mainly going into the euro at plus 21, into the dollar at plus 11, and the pound is the neutral rock at 0. There we are, and the activity is plus or minus 32. Right, what's going to knock it about? Well, today is all about really PMIs, so inflation data with manufacturing and services, and we've got PMIs out in the GBP, Germany, Europe as a whole trading bloc, 27 nations, and we've got US manufacturing PMIs as well, and service PMIs. So, and we've also got retail sales for the GBP and the CAD. So basically we're looking at inflation data, manufacturing and services, and retail sales. Right, so what's been happening in the flows? Well, let's just get rid of this. Our trades have come back a bit yet again. We're about minus 400 points now, so from a peak of 6,500. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's say the flows look like this really. So let's have a look. We've got the euro. Euro is strong, except against the New Zealand dollar, which is stronger. The yen is weak across the board. The pound is weak, except against the yen, the CAD and the Swiss, which is weaker. The Swiss is weak, except against the yen. The CAD is weak, except against the yen and the Swiss. The AUD is strong, except against the New Zealand dollar. The New Zealand dollar is strong across the board. The dollar is strong, except against the AUD and the NZD. Right. So basically, what have we got? We've got yen weakness across the board in the Asian session, and we've got New Zealand strength. And take your pick in the middle, so that sort of looks as they've had a bit of a risk on session. Right, so let's have a look at the asset flows, the asset classes, and we'll start as usual with the dollar index. So right, here we go, a US dollar index. US dollar index. Basically, sort of looks like that it broke. It's come back a little bit, but the dollar is still very high in relative terms. And gold, as we know, doesn't really like a high dollar and is 0.47 from the high. And oil had this break, came back, and it's now 0.35 from the high. Wall Street had this sort of look to it. It's just off the highs really, so Wall Street's doing reasonably well. The S&P had this break, came back, and it's just sub highs, and the tech broke, came off, and it's now at the highs. So equities are pretty strong, the tech being the leader at the moment. US 10-year then, interesting as we've got all this PMI data. Where is it? So basically the US 10-year, it broke, that's the price, so yields coming off, then the yields strengthened a little bit, it's 0.31 from the high. The bund, which is the European equivalent, had this break in price, so yields came off and they're still off. So relatively speaking, European yields in our model terms are much weaker than US yields at the moment. And bear in mind we've got this German and European PMIs coming out, and the market's basically, the bond market is basically saying that it's going to be soft. So in those terms, right? So what else have we got? Copper. Copper's had this sort of like crazy rough ride, but it's finally where are we? It's 0.220 from the high, so it's getting there. It's come back. It's pretty good for copper recently. And US steel's also been having a bit of a rough ride, and that's come back a bit, but not as much. It's 0.28 from the floor. So that's where we are. Right. So we'll just polish this off and think about what's going to happen today and going forwards. Right. So get rid of this. Right. Well, what we're looking at is the gap between the short-term flows and the long-term flows. So as I said, we're short USD dollar versus the euro, the pound and the AUD, and we're short NZD against euro, pound, CAD, AUD. Right, and if you look at the flows, where are we? So the weekly flows we've had, we've got the euro negatively driving at the moment, as the opposed negative driver. Previously we've had yen strength for the last couple of weeks, and the yen's starting to come off a bit now, and a lot of that will be to do with the equity transmission. So we've got this shift away from yen strength to euro weakness, and if you've got flows going out of the yen, which we've had, and out of the euro, they've got to go somewhere in the majors, and the only two left are the pound or the dollar. The dollar's pumped, so the pound is the one that's likely to be the player today, really, and the pound's been sold off previously, so there's plenty of upside potential in the pound. And it depends obviously how the data comes out in terms of the PMIs, but so pound dollar is of interest, pound yen all to the long side potentially, unless we get some sort of data shock otherwise. So and our old friend the AUD NZD still messing about, still not being able to scale, and it's because you've got this like go-to scenario with the NZD at the moment, and the AUD has been whacked by the Reserve Bank of Australia comments, and the fact that it's going fairly bent on the on the virus front in Australia at the moment, which hopefully will be temporary. Anyway, so I hope that was useful. Watch out for pound strength and probably yen weakness. And it all depends on how the PMI comes out and the retail settles, but in the short term. So I hope that was useful. See you over the weekend for the combined video of the flows and the data cycle. If not, see you Monday for the daily briefing. Thank you for watching.